Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is to mix our the first ingredients of our dough. So I've got here my starter. This starter was taken out of the fridge last night, and we're now in the following morning. It's a little bit drier than I would like, ideally, but you can see it's quite lively, plenty of bubbles there. Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to put 150 grams, so the first thing is 150 grams of starter into this bowl. Off we go. That's going to be most of it actually, I think. Okay, that's 170, so let's just get some of that back out. It's not the easiest stuff to deal with, this. That's 148, okay, that's near enough. Near enough. Okay. Okay, well we've got 150 now after it came off the spoon there, so that's fine. The next thing we're going to add is some water, 115 grams of water. Now normally I would put the water in a jug the night before out of the tap, which gets rid of the chlorine or the fluorine, whichever it is, and it's perfectly safe to use then. But if you use water straight out of the tap into this, it will kill the yeast. Unfortunately, I forgot to put the water out last night, so I'm using bottled water today, which is not good for the environment and highly wasteful, but unfortunately I forgot. So here we go, 115 grams. In fact, I'm going to go for 120. I'm going to go for about 125. I'm going to go 10 over because that starter was a little bit dry today. It's important to be able to adapt a little bit with your recipes. Sometimes you find that, you know, things aren't quite as they normally are and you have to adapt. So I've just added more water than usual there. The flour now, I'm going to use some white strong flour. I use Carr's flour, just out of preference. I'm going to try some organic one of these days because I quite like the idea of that. Trying to move over to organic as far as possible. 250 grams then of white flour. There we are. Okay. And that's all I'm going to add at this stage. And I'm just going to mix these ingredients together quickly. And this will form what appears to be quite a dry dough. But this is only the first stage. We still have, actually, there's something else I'm going to add, which I forgot. I'm going to put some sugar in at this stage, just to give the yeast a bit of a start. Now I'm adding sugar to my pizza because it gives it the crust a bit of colour. Caramelization. I'm going for about a teaspoon there, about, I don't know, 7 or 8 grams of sugar, nothing more. Okay, so we put that in and mix. Yeah, so as I was saying, this produces quite a dry dough, but we will later on add olive oil and salt. The reason I'm not adding those things at the moment is because I want to give the yeast a start. I want to give the flour a chance to absorb the liquid before we add the other ingredients, just so as I can see how it is and whether I need to adjust the flour or water content before kneading and adding the other ingredients. So we'll see how it pans out. It's looking alright. It's pretty much what I expected it to be. at this stage. Quite dry, but not too bad. There's not really a lot you can do with this because it's so dry. All I'm doing really is incorporating the ingredients, and I'm going to probably call it a day at that. And I'm going to leave this now for about an hour, just to, as I say, to give that flour a chance to absorb the water, and we'll see what the texture's like by then before we fold it or knead it. Just break down the bowl there to keep that bowl nice and clean. Okay, as usual, when you keep the dough in the bowl like that, what I do is get a piece of cling film there. I'm just going to wet my hands and wet that cling film because I don't want any kind of crust forming. And put the wet cling film on the top there, like that. And then we're going to leave that, as I say, for about an hour, and we'll come back shortly.